Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aldi Alfiansyah. I'm the English student of Semarang State University, major in English education. And today I would like to present my final project entitled The Effectiveness of Edpuzzle as Teaching Media to Improve the Students' Listening Skill on Narrative Text. This presentation will consist of 5 chapters. The first is introduction, second review of related literature, third is methodology, fourth is result and discussion, and the last one is conclusion and suggestion. First is introduction, consists of background of the study, research for choosing the topic, and the research problem. Background of my study. In Indonesia, English as a foreign language is taught in all educational levels, especially at the senior high school level, and involves 4 skills that must be mastered by the students, include listening, speaking, reading, and also writing skill. And from those skills, the listening skill is important for an English foreign language classroom to grasp the idea, thought, or meaning. Improving the listening skill is important and essential for the students to understand what they hear so that learners can respond to what they understand. And because of that, to improve the listening skill, teaching listening is one of the methods to support students in optimizing their listening skill. And then reason for choosing the topic. Many students experience difficulties learning in English, especially in learning and improving their listening skill. It is because the method used by the teacher in training the students' listening skill in English also still use conventional methods. It makes the students face difficulties learning in English, especially in learning listening. Because of that, the teacher should create and use media in teaching and learning activities. Based on the background of the study and why I choose this topic, I propose the research problem. How is the effectiveness of Edpuzzle in improving the students' listening skill on narrative text? And the second chapter is a review of related literature. This consists of previous study and theoretical framework. There are some previous studies that is similar with my studies. First is conducted by Aula in 2020. It's about explaining an adaptation of Edpuzzle learning and how far the students' listening abilities improve after utilizing the Edpuzzle as the learning media. And the result using Edpuzzle was successful, and students have more attention to the teacher and make them easier to learning listening. And then there was improvement in the listening skill after using Edpuzzle. And the second one is Achillestiani and Prayowana, with the focus is the students' achievement in using Edpuzzle for listening comprehension. And the result, the use of Edpuzzle has a positive impact on their improvement of listening comprehension and in enjoyable ways. And then Mawada et al. Also conducted a study with the focus is determining whether Edpuzzle can improve students' listening skill and how Edpuzzle can improve students' listening skill of 25 students in 11P of SMA Negeri 1 Prakassan. And the result, this media could improve the students' listening skill, and rewatch and feedback were the favorite feature in the Edpuzzle. And then Hamid 2022 also conducted a study with the focus was obtaining empirical data on students' perspective on the use of Edpuzzle in listening assessment. And the result, they agree that the content of the video was related to their every conversation and was authentic. And the last one, Chuyan and Hugh in 2022 also conducted a study related to listening and Edpuzzle. The focus was investigating students' listening skill and attitudes toward using Edpuzzle to improve their listening ability. And the result, the students' listening skill were improved by using the Edpuzzle application, and they were interested to them. Based on some previous study, there are one study that is have a relevance with my study. It is conducted by Aula in 2020, and with the relevance, the study discussed the use of Edpuzzle in listening classroom to improve the students' listening abilities. And then the theoretical framework. This research is underlined by some theoretical studies. We have to know about the definition of listening, the importance of listening, difficulties in listening, and then teaching listening strategies. And in this study, I use Edpuzzle as the teaching listening strategies and see the effectiveness of using Edpuzzle as teaching media to improve the listening skill. The third chapter is the methodology. It consists of the research approach and design, population example, data collection technique, and procedure to analyze the data. First is research approach and design. In this study, I adopted quantitative research as the approach and then use experimental research with quasi-experimental research. Based on the research problem, I propose the hypothesis for my research. For the alternative hypothesis is the use of Edpuzzle significantly affect the improvement of the students' listening skill. And the null hypothesis, the use of Edpuzzle doesn't significantly affect the improvement of the students' listening skill. And population and the sample of my study, the population is 10 grade students of SMA Negeri 1 Ambarawa in the academic year of 2022 to 2023. And the sample, I take 2 classes of 10 grades of SMA Negeri 1 Ambarawa, 1 class for the experimental class and 1 class for the control class. To collect the data, I use the task for the instrument, and the data collection technique, I use tryout, pretest, and the post-test. And to process, analyze, and interpreting the data, first I scoring the data first, and then check the validity and the reliability test based on the tryout result. And after that, I take the pretest and the post-test, and after that, check the normality test, homogeneity test. And then to know the differences, I use the Wilcoxon test, and then to know the significant effect, I use Mann-Whitney test. The fourth chapter is the result and discussion. This is the comparison of pretest, post-test between experimental and control class. The experimental group's pretest average was 51.26 and in control class is 65.65. And then for the post-test result, the experimental class got 57.98 and the control class got 71.85. From this result, in experimental and control class got increase in post-test than pre-test. And then to know the differences of the experimental class after and before using Edpuzzle, I use Wilcoxon test. The table showed that the value of significant value was 0.030, and based on the decision making, 0.030 is less than 0.05, which means that there was an average difference between the pre-test and the post-test of the experimental class. So it could be said that there was an effect of using Edpuzzle in improving the students' listening skill on narrative text material. And then to know the effectiveness of Edpuzzle, I use Mann-Whitney test. According to the table, the value of significant value was 0.017, which is it less than 0.05. It means that there was a significant effect on the use of Edpuzzle. In conclusion, it could be said that the use of Edpuzzle significantly affects the improvement of the students' listening skill. Next, we move to the discussion of my study. The result of the Wilcoxon test showed that there was difference between the experimental class and also the Mann-Whitney test. The data show that implementing Edpuzzle significantly improved the students' listening skill. And it makes that there was an improvement in listening skill because 0.017 is less than 0.05 on manual test and 0.030 less than 0.05 based on the Wilcoxon test. Based on the result of my study, the results are related to the previous study conducted by Aula in 2020 that found that the implementation of Edpuzzle was effective because there was an improvement in the listening skill after using it. Also, a study conducted by Listiani and Prayuana in 2021 revealed that the Edpuzzle had a positive impact on the improvement of the listening comprehension in enjoyable ways. And then research conducted by Mawada et al. Also have a similar result with my research, which implementation of Edpuzzle could improve the students' listening skill. Based on the discussion above, it can be concluded that the alternative hypothesis of my research is accepted and the null hypothesis was rejected. And the last one is conclusion and the suggestion. Based on my study, there are some conclusion of the study. Even though experimental got a lower mean than the control class, they got better result after being treated by Edpuzzle. It can be said that implementing Edpuzzle to improve listening skill might be an effective way. And then based on the result of Wilcoxon test, there was effect of using Edpuzzle in improving the student listening skill. And then according to Mann-Whitney test, the data show that implementing Edpuzzle significantly improved the listening skill of the students. And because of that, the alternative hypothesis is accepted and the null hypothesis is rejected. And then the suggestion for my research. I believe that my research there is some weakness, and so because of that, I propose the practical and theoretical suggestion. For practically, for teacher, the researcher would like to recommend Edpuzzle to teach in English, especially in listening activities, because it's probably a suitable strategy and alternative way to teach listening with different way. And then for the students, they should use several ways to increase the listening skill. And then for future research, should do a comparative study with another grade or level of the same students to see the differences if the same media is used at the different level. And theoretically, this study has not discussed further how the process is carried out by students in improving and solve their problem in listening comprehension. Therefore, this research hopes that in the future, another research that discusses this can be done. That's all about my presentation about my final project about the effectiveness of Edpuzzle as a teaching media to improve the students' listening skill on native text. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.